Thank you.
Fine, thank you. Welcome everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this inaugural African Business Leader Roundtable event. I can see we have a global audience. Thank you everyone for joining from all over the world. I will just quickly be introducing Dr. Ruti Balogun to take us forward. Basically tell us, why we are here, and then do some introduction of our moderator and guest speaker. Dr. Balogun.
Good morning, everyone. It really is an afternoon for those that are in different parts of the world, evening as well. I'm Ruti Balogun. I have joined from New York, really excited to host this event with my dear friend Ramide, and we have a great speaker, Mrs. Ibukun Awosika, who will be joining us as well. The platform, as mentioned, is a great platform where all of us are members, are really here to learn, share about, growth, opportunity, taking the continent, the world forward. And I know that every one of us has truly benefited from being part of this great community. I'll start with a little bit about myself. I currently live in New York with my wife and my daughter. Um, I always try to share that the reason I wake up in the morning and I'm so grateful I'm here with you all is because of God's awesome love for me. And, it's such a interesting time for all of us, where we have to always be thankful for good health. And so I am, particularly this morning, really thankful for that love. But also, it's important to also share a little bit the mission that I do. And that mission, I'm really lucky to be able to achieve that both in my day-to-day life and at work. At work today, I lead talent for JP Morgan Chase. I lead it for the community and community bank. So the Chase, so any of you that have walked into a Chase branch, hopefully you've come in contact with a lot of my great colleagues who every day when I wake up, I think about how to ensure that they are thinking about their career growth, thinking about how to prioritize you as a customer, thinking about their training, their development, and that's really what keeps me up in the morning and makes me smile to go to work. But on the other end of it as well is I spend a lot of time with the leaders of the company, really thinking about succession planning versus I think about culture. I think about, making sure that we're preparing for the next generation of leaders every day. And so, it's a really, really important role that I truly enjoy. And really my mission is to ensure that I continue to influence every leader everywhere, every day, to make sure that they are achieving their purpose at work. So great responsibility that I enjoy. My journey before this role, really, I actually studied engineering. So I'm an engineer by background and by heart. And over the years, as you probably would see in my profile, is I've spent a lot of time in different variety of roles in engineering, in HR, in leadership. And I think that being able to go on that journey to learn the different aspects of the business and finally be here with JP Morgan versus the other companies I work with, Ericsson and GE, has truly been a humbling experience. But beyond work, right? I said, my mission was really to help to influence and transform leaders everywhere. I spend a lot of time as well being an entrepreneur at heart and in action. So I lead a couple of nonprofit organizations in a board capacity, but also in a personal capacity as well. I invest a lot in tech startups. I'm very passionate about education. And so along the journey, I did a doctorate in education. And so I spend a lot of time with the Nigerian Universities Commission, just helping to think about tertiary education in Nigeria and how we can really truly prepare for the future of learning. So again, I'm really, really excited to leave my passions at work and also every day through the community and the partnership I have with everyone here to influence education back in Nigeria. Um, and so, here today we are going to learn and share, and I've got the privilege to introduce two amazing women. One who is my sister, partner in Divine Purpose, a super passionate leader with a mission to connect young global leaders, to access growth opportunities that lead to sustainable and macroeconomic impact, right? And I know you guys already know who that is. That is Arami Day. She is the global lead for jobs for youth and entrepreneurship at the Africa Adaptation and Accelerator Program, and is the founder, conveyor of this great Niger startups platform, that we all share as members. It's a budding community of over 95,000 followers, 1,000 members, and 500 bud ready business leaders. And so it's a truly, truly impactful organization. Aramdi, we are really proud of you. We look forward to you moderating the rest of this session. I would also like to now introduce, I'm not sure if, just let me know, Miss. Yes, indeed. All right. So I wanted to check if Mrs. Awosika is on. And if she is, she's our truly spectacular, spirit-filled, super inspiring special guest of honor today. She's an author, right? And there was a quote that she said that I wanted to really start off with, that out of her many, many quotes that she has written. She says, and I quote, always remember that you'll eventually get that opportunity, whether it's a career or business opportunity, by invitation. However, you would only move forward by your outstanding and consistent performance. She went further to ask that it means that when you get that first seat at the table, how would you handle it? Would you deliver to that promise of excellence? And today it's such a privilege, right, to welcome Yuma to the inaugural Africa Business Leader Roundtable. Mrs. Awosika is a truly God-fearing and fearless leader. She's Uncle Abiodu's lifetime heartthrob. She's a wonderful mother of three amazing sons. By proxy, she's a mother to many, many, many of us over here, near and far, by adoption. So thank you in advance, Ma, for adopting me today. But as you would have read in her profile, she's endowed with a multitude of professional, personal, local, international accomplishments, way too countless to list. However, I must share that she was recently appointed as a member of the Global Independent Impact Task Force by the United Kingdom 2021 presidency of the G7 countries, with a mandate to prefer measures to help nations recover from the COVID-19 crisis and design the future blueprints for sustainable societies and economies. That is such an important mandate, and we're just grateful to have you here, Ma. So thank you for honoring us with your presence. We look forward. We can't wait to grab our notepads and take your nuggets of wisdom away today. So please join me in a virtual round of applause to welcome Mrs. A to the stage.
Hi everyone. I'm not Mrs. A, no, but she's just messaged me. As you know, an extremely busy business leader. We were texting around 5 a.m. She's on her way to join. She was just pulled into something super urgent. We had hoped that by 11:30 we'll kick off with her, but I think we should give it a few more minutes. So thank you, Ruti, for that amazing introduction. I mean, I feel like you're the best person, just definitely God sent to sort of like just lead us into this discussion this morning. But while we wait and while we get acquainted, I think some of my colleagues are asking us to put where we've joined from in the chat. We've seen people from Saudi Arabia, from the Peak District in the UK, from New York, from South Africa. It's amazing. I'm in Abuja right now. I just got into Nigeria. So it's so nice to sort of like connect with everyone. So maybe what I'll say is please put your yeah, so we have Maryland as well. Please put the sort of link to register. The someone put a video up in their stories, just get more people to join. I feel like in this digital age, everybody's attention span is so short. Like I'll know that I have a meeting at in 30 minutes and then I'll forget at 2 minutes to the time. So remind people, put in the chat, put in the stories. I feel like admin needs to enable that. But what I'm going to do in the time where we're sort of like just warming up is tell you a little bit about Niger startups and sort of like our vision and strategy for the coming year. So Yemi, I'm going to do a bit of cold calling. I don't know if you have the fact sheets and you're able to sort of uh project that.
Yes, I do. I'll project that now.
Thank you so much. I have such an amazing team. I'm super grateful. I think that was, when you're building a business, as everybody knows, the entrepreneurship, the people is so critical. It can really make or break. So I'm super grateful. I've kind of come full circle with like business challenges and finding the right people. And Yemi actually, Yemi used to work with Niger startups, developing our pitch decks for startups because we would work on help people develop pitch decks. People come to us to say, you do pitch decks, and we do a lot of things, which I'll talk about. So we used to do pitch decks. He used to work in a bank, in one of the top tier banks, and he just reached out to say he used to develop decks. So I was like, okay, let's see. We had a few partners that used to develop decks for us. So he would always do that every now and then for us. We had a project where someone needed some market research. He executed and did that really well. And so I always remembered, oh, I really have this good person. So when I started working in international development mid last year, I got an opportunity for the World Bank to come and partner with the program that I was leading. And they said to me, oh, we want to partner, we want to partner. And I said, okay, partner, but sponsor the partnership, put money where your mouth is. So they told me the equivalent of how much they would donate to my program in form of technical assistance. And I thought, okay, really cool. Then they said, oh, send me some CVs. And I thought, I have CVs now. So I reached out to Yemi. I mean, I hadn't spoken to him in like a year and a half. And he said, oh, he's busy. He's working on some startup now. I said, okay. Anyway, this is how much they're paying. It's a World Bank role. And he was like, eh. So I sent his CV and I sent another CV. And when they interviewed him from DC, they picked him. They really liked him. I think he was very prepared, strong work ethic. He had, prepared for the interview. They just really liked him. So they've hired him to be a consultant working for me. So as we kind of evolve and, ease off and build the team in Niger startups, thanks to Marianne and her consulting practice, she's really helping us there. Of course, he's supporting in like a support kind of role, but of course he's easing off to work, to support all I'm doing in international development. And what we do there is support jobs and entrepreneurship across Africa. So it just all works out. It's the same. But Niger startups. So as you know, many of you know us from social media. That's literally where we started, where we're like, okay, we want to like amplify African SMEs and startups a bit more. There's people doing amazing things in the world. How come people don't know about it? And so that was the sort of basis for it at the time. So it wasn't like there was some clear-cut strategy to be an entrepreneur support organization, which we are today. So anyway, we started that way, where we would kind of share information and useful content online. And I guess I've always had a gift for curating very good information. When I used to be a blogger in my 20s, I would have like tons and tons of followers. So I think that kind of extended to this. And so very quickly in 9 months, we grew to about 45,000 organic followers. But I think the downside there was the fact that we didn't really have a clear-cut strategy. So we knew we wanted to do this for businesses. But anyway, we kind of went with the flow. So in the initial stages, we partnered with Google through Shola. I don't know if Shola is on the call today. Shola, an amazing digital programs person that we also do work with for digital skills across Africa. So we partner with Google, and Tele is on as well. Yes, literally Tele and Shola. Tele is a member now. And so we agreed that it was through the Digify Bytes program, and we started running digital training skills with them. Digify and Google for SMEs. So through that, we're having like in-person interfaces and interactions with SMEs. So we became this household name, over a period of time, like Niger Startups, Niger Startups. So we kind of knew that, okay, we're heading somewhere, strategic partnerships, we're doing well with that. People kind of saw us as a digital, go-to and everything. Then through that, and doing a lot of content and stuff online, we did a lot of social listening. So I think someone's unmuted. We did a lot of social listening. So we're listening to our members, or our followers, trying to understand the kind of things that they needed. And they would be like, oh, do you mentor? Do you do networking? Do you fund? Do you, all the things that businesses essentially need. We kind of were noting all of that down. So essentially it was clear that, naturally businesses need these things, and we have this critical mass. Why don't we begin to see how we can provide some of those things, whether it's organically or through strategic partnerships? So we started with that. And so we built a community out of it, by virtue of, okay, maybe friends that we knew, and then people who had interfaced with us with all the things we're doing. But of course, the community model in Africa, in Nigeria, or even generally, is something else. So just learning about building communities, I feel like now I'm kind of a thought leader on community building, and I'm sure I'm going to do quite a bit of work around that, because people actually come to me to say questions about community. I remember, was it Waje, the musician, wanted to build a community for musicians and creatives. So many people that come to me with regards to community building. So there will be some work going on there, and I'm putting it out there for accountability. But so build this community, just trying to test how that would work effectively. Very up and down, but I think today we're very clear as to how we want to sort of position ourselves for SMEs. So we know that there are different types of SMEs. We know that there's the young aspirational or aspiring entrepreneurs. Then I feel like the members, though, like our paying members in the Niger Startups group, are the typical millennial, like myself, like Roti, who have like 15 years work experience doing business or in full-time employment. We have some 9-to-5s in our community. So I think naturally the middle tier are those guys who, they have experience, they're looking to either grow their career or their businesses. Then we're also working on a board ready or board track, where it allows for people to be ready for boards, because we get a lot of requests as to recommendations for boards. So we want to see how we can provide something like that at the end of the year once we test the model. So it would be training, capacity building in partnership with certain partners. It would be resources for board, readiness, that sort of thing, because that's kind of how we're positioning ourselves. So for the youth and the young aspiring entrepreneurs, we have this platform which is on Telegram, where we just share opportunities just for free. We want people to get jobs. People like Yemi, get good jobs. Somi, who's joined as well. People to find out access opportunities, to democratize opportunities, if you want to call it that. So we always say, please share the Telegram billboard with any youth and we're launching a fellowship program for youth. Between Q1 and Q2 of this year, 100 youth entrepreneurs. We're partnering with one of the business schools in Lagos, Nigeria, and they'll have a incubator type thing. And so there's a lot of work behind the scenes going on. So this kind of just tells you a few things that we're doing. And for those who are members, do think about applying to join. We have a review process now where we kind of review just to see that there's a fit, for being a member of the community. And then maybe the final thing I'll say to that is the fact that we do have other programs that aren't listed here. So essentially, when you join, what you're getting is access to opportunities, networking. There will be mentorship coming up. Of course, referrals for business, ability to also amplify your business, capacity building. Of course, there will be fora like this. Every month, we have a business leader coming to talk to us about something over a Q&A. Then we actually have a social event as well, where there's maybe like a subject matter expert that comes to teach us something. And that one is hosted by a different member every month. So there's actually quite a few things going, but I think the real sort of like magic is the network, is the value of the network. We have EDs of insurance companies, we have all sorts of people, as you can see from the chat, and I think it's so rich, it's so valuable. I don't even have to sell it. So when people ask me, oh, what is really the value? I feel like, okay, there is value, but if you don't see it, then But so I think this kind of explains it end to end. I don't know if Yemi, you want to tell me whether Mrs. A has joined or if we can just keep going. But yeah, so that is Niger Startups. Maybe someone wants to put the link to register or apply in the chat. And while we kind of wait, maybe I'll go back to Roti. He mentioned a few things around youth and education, which were quite interesting. So I probably want to ask him a few things around that. So if you permit us to kind of just switch it up a little bit and ask. So you mentioned that you are working with, I suppose, public sector to around education. I don't know if you want to just speak to that a little bit more because it sounded really interesting. And then maybe people here that want to reach out in regards to synergies as well.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Actually, thanks, Ramde. It was great to hear, the journey of Niger startups and your journey as well. I just, as we continue that dialogue in terms of, our individual impacts in the public sector. Obviously, I work full time for JPM today, and so I really always stretch to make sure that, even though I'm far from home, and before I moved out here to the US, I'm, remaining connected, right, with a lot of the opportunities and growth and areas to really truly have impact back home. And part of the triggers for that was when I started the journey of a doctorate. I specialized and focused in entrepreneurship education, and the reason for that was obviously I think as we all understand, the rate of unemployment is pretty high back on the continent. And, it was important to double click into areas of entrepreneurship, which is why this community in itself exists, to ensure that, those that are natural entrepreneurs that have not necessarily gone through further education are truly contributing. But what about those that are in our tertiary institutions that have really truly learned a discipline or profession? How would we help them to be able to build out specific entrepreneurial skills? And so part of the focus of my doctorate was really thinking about the educators and the role that they play in enabling entrepreneurship education across our universities. And so the outcomes of that was really just, hearing a little bit about the skills that impacted entrepreneurial intention, the culture, and some of the indigenous practices that we, have over time and over history, that have actually influenced how we think about modern entrepreneurship practices. And so what I've tried to do now is take a lot of that learning, partner with the directors of entrepreneurship centers across different universities, and start to think about, one, how do we truly evolve the curriculum for entrepreneurship education in our universities, and also how do we partner with the educators themselves to further their own learning about how to truly influence and lead entrepreneurial students in the university. So that's some of the time I spend my time, being a part of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group as a think tank, helping to shape that. But also, on one hand of entrepreneurship and influencing that is also employability, which is my bread and butter every day at work. And so I also spend quite a bit of time thinking about education technologies. How do we influence sort of the increase or improvement in employability skills? And some of the more dear passions for me is working, with the Nigerian University Commission now to start to think a little bit about how we rethink internships on a broader scale, but using technology to enable that. So more to come on that. We are looking to do a few pilots in the next couple of months with universities and corporate institutions in sort of enabling that marketplace where you can build employability skills. So some of the things I get involved with amongst many others as well around the. Back to you.
Thank you. I was like, this my internet must not fall my hand. I don't understand why everywhere I go, I can't be in any country. There must shall be something. And my friends make fun of me. It's crazy. I've tried to do everything and it's still up and down. So apologies if I'm going in and out. Thank you so much, Roti, Dr. Roti, for that. Super amazing. And I'm sure people will reach out to you. Maybe feel free to put your LinkedIn in the chat. so people can connect with you. I know there are potential synergies even for us as well. And maybe I'll just speak a bit about what I do, because when you mentioned jobs and employability, I said, okay, interesting. So when I am mid last year with the whole up and down and thinking, God, I need a stable life. I love to give Africa my blood, but my heart, but I can't give it my blood. So I took up a role with the African Development Bank and the Global Center on Adaptation and the World Bank. It's kind of like a coalition to lead programs in entrepreneurship and jobs for youth, but specifically in the climate adaptation space. So when you see me at COP26 and all these things, it's because I'm in the climate space now, but specifically around boosting entrepreneurship. So as I lead programs, what I do is, of course, we have funding, a lot of funding, but not able to even disburse the funds. And the focus is Africa to boost entrepreneurship through competitions and challenges, grants, government policy engagements, ensuring that jobs created out of AFDB country projects are adaptation jobs as well. Some of them, 30% are adaptation jobs. So working with like the International Labour Organization to define jobs in terms of this new taxonomy, because climate adaptation is quite new. Mitigation is the one we all know, but given that we can't mitigate so much, we have to adapt. There's now this whole new agenda. So there's quite a bit of funding in the world going to that. And so there's been a whole push in the last maybe like 14 and 24 months for that. So with regards to Africa, the key thing is how do we unlock finance for entrepreneurs for us to boost jobs and job creation and then their businesses as well. So on the back of that, I'm also looking to partner with organizations that can deliver on this mandate. So I'm literally having conversations with like tech hubs, like Pan-African ones, because of course we have a Pan-Africa focus. Also different partners as well, gender mainstreaming and things like that. So it's interesting because I've always done implementation. I did that in banking before entrepreneurship. So it's something I can do in my sleep. I guess the only new thing is climate, which I'm learning very quickly. So there's quite a bit that we're doing. But in regards to entrepreneurship and jobs, again, it kind of links because, again, all the things around entrepreneur support, just ideas or how to implement, knowing what works in Africa and what doesn't, it's kind of like bread and butter. So that is like my daytime, and I say like Niger startups is like my nighttime. And then I do partner with a few people on this call as investors. So we look at tech startups similar to Roti. We in fact we were on 2 investor calls yesterday with people with startups pitching to us and all of that. So we're constantly looking. So if there's interest in investing, for example, people looking to invest, feel free to reach out again as well, because this is not necessarily a VC, it's just kind of like a syndicate of investors. So looking to fund businesses and all, because again, that's the only way businesses can grow. And one of my bosses refers to it as the sustain you. So you fall, it's graph, you fall down. So with my 9 to 5, one of my projects is to grant $100,000 per business, which is a lot because grants are typically 20,000, 25, but this is 100,000 just to address that gap, that valley of death gap. So if you're in agriculture and climate, anything around climate adaptation, maybe Yemi can put the link to the taxonomy so people can understand what climate adaptation job is. Please check it out so that then you know that there is actually money to support you in the world. And because there's solutions that we're looking to address. The major thing in the world, I think, is food security. So if people are solving for food security, honestly speaking, you have no problem. Gates and Bezos and all these people, they're just throwing money at it. So I'll say you should definitely, just review and see whether there's a match there. And I think that is everything. So I see Sheon on. I don't know if Mrs. A is available now. Hello, Sheon, are you there? Sheon works with Mrs. Awosika. I have some people DMing me. And so with Niger startups as well, yes, we have actually facilitated a few things. I think we need to do a better job at amplifying. Somebody said to me, oh, you introduced us to somebody who's now on our board, and she was the head of HR at Coca-Cola. oh, we facilitated Miss Lauryn Hill, the rapper, wanted to donate money to a foundation. We facilitated that. We do a lot of facilitation that we don't make a lot of noise about. Because I think we just believe in the work as opposed to the noise. But I recognize that there needs to be a balance in this noisy day and age. So we'll do better in sharing some of the things that we do. A lot of people have, some people have got jobs through us, got funding through us, got mentorship, got into programs. So there's a lot that Niger Startups is able to do. And I think we just see ourselves as this one-stop shop facilitator. So feel free to reach out and connect. Hello, Sheon. Are you there? Sheon? You're muted, I think. Let me see if she's sent me a message. Sorry for the delay, but I think with all the wisdom that she's going to download, it's worth the so we apologize, and she sincerely apologizes. She has an amazing work ethic. She did apologize ahead, like at 5 a.m. this morning. So do bear with us. People are messaging me about funding. It's crazy. Like 7 people. Yeah, I think the best thing. So Yemi, can you please put the taxonomy in the chat and then put Niger Startups registration link and put Niger Startups email so that then people can email about that. We invested in an agri business 2 years ago. We facilitated was it newly agrolay facilitated investors for agro for Adal Sakwe's investors for that. So we've done quite a bit. We've also tried to facilitate for a new hydroponics agriculture business. So there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit that we do behind the scenes that we don't necessarily talk about. And we have Mrs. A here. I'm so happy. So happy. Good morning, afternoon, evening, ma. I don't even know where you are.
Morning, everyone.
Hello, ma.
It's morning where I am right now, so
Good morning.
we'll leave it at that.
Good morning.
Nice to see
You're
you.
very
Thank you,
welcome.
Aramide, for inviting me.
Thank
Hello,
you so
everyone.
much. Thank
My
you for
pleasure.
making time, because I know what your schedule can be like. We keep looking at your Instagram. There's just so much going on. I'm like, wow, you still are able to make time. So thank you very much for
I
honoring this
apologize for coming
invitation.
late. My pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll just I'll probably recap. I had my colleague, he's also a member of Niger Startups Network. His name is Dr. Ruti Balogun. He kind of opened the session, just told people about what this was about, introduced himself as well, and I'll just rehash to say it's we want to engage and learn from business leaders. There are all sorts of communities and networks in Africa, in Nigeria. I find that with the Niger Startup Network, it has more millennials, so 35 to 45, 50 plus year old entrepreneurs, people who have maybe 15 or so years work experience, a lot of them upwardly mobile. There's quite a few people in the diaspora and here. So that level of exposure is there. But of course, we're always looking to grow and learn. And we look at people like you as, wow, what does it take? And just want to hear from you. So maybe, I don't know how you want this to run. I had suggested, there were a few questions that people had asked, but I wanted to also see what was comfortable for you in terms of how we should take this and take this through.
Okay, I think you get a lot more from a Q&A session because that allows me to, you can draw from the length and breadth of whatever knowledge I have gathered over the years. And you would also be asking from your point of view rather than just from my point of view. So I think that's more of direct application for you, because I could go from so many different directions, but every minute counts. So I would rather that you can do that.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So we have a bunch of questions lined up, structured across leadership, people and hiring, mentorship, and business growth. Of course, time permitting, I'm not going to ask everything. I will see how the conversation goes, but I will start with leadership and maybe we'll go on to people because that is something that everybody is really looking to hear from. Then at the end, we have 2 live questions from 2 of our members. So if you permit me, the first one is, what qualities are lacking among today's leaders?
Well, that depends on what category of leadership we're talking about in terms of what's lacking. If it's your generation, are we talking about your generation or are we talking about people ahead of you that you're looking at? Because that helps to put it in context. They're two different things. So
To be
it's,
honest,
yes, go on.
sorry, ma'am. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, to be honest, maybe both, but maybe you want to start with us and then looking forward
Okay.
the leaders.
Yesterday, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who called me and he was a little worried about his daughter. She's smart, she's brilliant, absolutely able to move from one amazing job to the other and all of that. But in reality, bottom line is we looked at the whole profile of her journey and we realized that every 18 to 24 months, maybe 30 months at the most, she's ready for the next move. And I hear it from a lot of your people. Oh, no. My plan is to work in this place for 2 years. My plan is to work in this place for 3 years maximum. If you're in a place for 3 years, you're too old or you've stayed too long there. And I always just have a good laugh, at you guys' expense, to be honest, because the reality is you need to first define what is your journey about. Where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to be known for? It's not just about having worked in 10 different companies. It's what you want to build as your own life journey so that you can define why you make the decision to stay in one place or why you decide to move. Because in terms of your leadership, it's about you lead in line with what your goals are, okay? And you make clear decisions that always have impact. There's no decision you will make concerning your life that doesn't have an impact or a cost, and there's always opportunity cost that applies to everything that you do. So you have to decide, what kind of person do I want to be? A person that can be trusted, a person that can be relied on, a person that can lead for the long term, a person that can be built around, okay? And in organizations, sometimes if you don't stay long enough to build, you actually miss out on the learnings. That is just the truth. Because there are times you need to settle into a place before you even begin to figure what that place is about and what are the learnings that you can take from there that will enhance your leadership. What is leadership? Your ability to influence other people for good in line with the kind of goals that you set. How do you influence other people if you don't allow yourself also to be influenced along the path of your journey? Because the value that is added to you is what nurtures and builds your ability to be an effective leader over time. One thing I have learned is you have to be teachable, you have to be open, you have to be willing to learn from up and from beneath you, because everyone has something to offer you. Everyone, not just people ahead of you, every person around you, the driver, the security guard, your colleague, the least member of your team, the biggest member of your team, the coffee lady in your office, everyone around you has a value that they add to you. Because when you lead people, you would find that in the diversity of the universe of the people that you lead, they come from different backgrounds, different experiences, and they will approach their job from different perspectives. If the length and breadth of your own experience does not prepare you to deal with the diversity of the people that you lead, you fail in your leadership. Which is why you can't, it's not just about your type. It's not just about one type. It's not just about the universe of a small club. I always say to my children, you guys think you know people or that you have a network, but you have a network of 0.00000% of the kind of people you went to nursery with, went to prep school with, went to secondary school with, went to university, your cluster of friends. You're still living in an insular world of a small crowd. And that doesn't actually prepare you to be effective in leadership. So you have to have that openness of mind, willingness to learn, and the challenge yourself to deal across board in different ways to enhance your ability. When I started my manufacturing company, I just came out of university, youth corps, a few 3.5 months of work. Yet I was starting a furniture manufacturing company. I had to deal with carpenters and sprayers. They were from another universe. But I had to learn how to deal with them, otherwise I was going to fail. So if I couldn't relate to them, I would fail at my job of trying to build a company that can move forward. So the length and the breadth of the depth and the breadth of your experiences will enrich your leadership. And some of it comes from having an openness of mind to learn from all and sundry and adding those experiences to your own journey in order to enhance your ability to lead. Do we have a problem?
I think Aramide's connectivity is having issues.
Okay, so I thought
Thank you so much for that. I don't know if you can hear. Is it in and out now?
We can hear you now.
You can, okay.
Yeah,
did you hear everything I said, or was I talking to myself?
No, we heard everything.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So Aramide is off. Do we have, she's on?
Okay. I think she just logged back.
Okay. So somebody else going to ask me another question then, or you want me to just?
Yes, so I'll just go ahead in Alamide's stead. So we had that. Okay.
She's back.
My
okay.
internet connection has been an ongoing prayer point for maybe like 24 months. Thank you so much for that, man. That was great. There was something you touched on with regards to people upping and leaving. I wanted to tie that with the future of work. Now that the world is changing, it's evolving. For example, there's fast fashion, there's fast everything. So doesn't you think that this whole staying power thing, being in an organization for maybe 10 years, 8 years, is a little outdated?
Well, let's look at Facebook and say that the tech was good, the idea and the concept was needed, it caught up quickly, but for it to become a sustainable business, what did we have to go back to? You had to get the accountants in, you had to get the strategy people in, you had to get the business managers in, but the technology was good. So it was all about people. We had to get back into people who had the ability to build and build for the long term. No matter how fast moving any idea is, there's a stage at which it becomes a bureaucracy in its sustainability. And when I say bureaucracy, I'm not talking about it becoming an inefficient organization. I'm talking about it then having to build systems and processes and having to have people who understand how to do certain things that are sustaining for the business over the long term. So it's not, there's certain things that are never going to be outdated in a sense. It's about having the skills to bring the two worlds together in order to achieve a sustainable business for the long term. Whether you're using technology to enhance the process of doing that, it doesn't change the fundamentals of what you need to do. And it's so, I remember when we had the NSAS thing in Nigeria, my kids were all over like, oh yes, we need to demonstrate, oh, this SARS guys, what they do to young people when we go out and blah, blah, blah. And that you guys, which means my generation, the parents, we didn't fight, we didn't do this. I had a good laugh at the expense. Because I said to them, how do you think we got democracy? When we were in university, we were the generation that demonstrated that universities were shut down for God knows how long, over and over and over again, just in order to get rid of military and get to democracy. So in our time and season, we paid our own price. And we did many things in the way we could for that time of our own generation in order to move the country forward. So it's a different fight for every generation, but there are learnings that are fundamental. There are principles that will apply across all the generations. Now, will they always be applied in the same way? No, because time and seasons can tweak the approach of the fundamentals that you need to apply. That you need to market your business is fundamental to a business. But how do you market? Do you have to advertise in a newspaper? Do I have to send flyers to you? Or do I just put whatever it is I'm trying to advertise on Instagram? Or do I use my Twitter or any of the new tools? Does it change what I'm trying to do? No. It just means when I'm using Instagram, I can reach anybody anywhere in the world much faster than a newspaper advert or adverts across multiple newspapers in different climes. If you understand the drift of what I'm saying, the fundamentals are applicable, tweaked, reorganized for the time and the season. But you must have the openness of mind to respect those fundamentals and not assume that because it was done before, it's no longer relevant. Is that what is good about what was done before? How do I tweak that into today? And how do I use it to enhance what I want to do? It's called the wisdom of old. It never gets out of fashion, but it must be updated for the time and the season. And the smartest young minds and leaders of every generation must learn that. You know, some of the people I love being around the most are men in their 80s and 90s. Why? There's a lot to learn from them. There is wisdom they've gathered over time. I don't want to make the same mistakes. I want to learn from their experiences. I want to take the things they have discovered in their journey, but work it for my journey and my time and my season. It allows me to move at a faster pace than anyone trying to just do it afresh. So I would say to you, always be open. Don't have a closed mind. Have an open mind to knowledge, and it can come from anywhere. Try to understand the principle behind the action and work the principle for your time and your season. Aramide was here this second. Okay.
Thank you so much for that. Sorry, I had to switch my video off just in case, but I've spoken to my co-anchor Moroti. So if it's dodgy, then he will just carry on and pick a question for you. I guess another question. You can? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So with regards to hiring, people hire for different reasons. Most of the time it's for experience and qualification, still the very African way. But there's this new thing around hiring for character and competence and all. So going off of that, I wanted to ask, what are the most important traits to look for when hiring an employee? We've had so many talents setting up all sorts of initiatives and platforms to address the talent problem, but it's generally it's a macro issue. But we can't continue to rely on macro resolutions. We need to get going and build our businesses. So the question is, what are the most important traits to look for when hiring a new employee?
Okay, I will say, depending on what kind of business you're in, I will find someone that has interest and passion for what you do. They might not necessarily be fully skilled, but that will be something that I can build on because their interest is sustaining. If you're interested in something, then you're excited about learning about it, and that should keep you going for a bit. You would also find that character is such an expensive currency when it comes to human capital. And finding people with the fear of God, so to speak, who will do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, who would be fair and just and be committed in the way that they do their job, who have the capacity to understand that they have an obligation for which they're paid, and will seek to deliver on that obligation, that would be a good thing. Now, I'll tell you one of the things that was key. In my work on boards, you would find that there are many people that are technically competent, but there are few people that have the right character that want you to put them on your team. So finding people of character, you can always teach for skills, and that is true. But even as you want to teach for skills, you have to find that they have the right passion for the particular job, okay? And that they are also teachable, because that's another thing. Teachability is key. Because when people are not teachable, they create problems in your team. When people are teachable, it means they will learn from everyone around them. And they would not be a god, they would be part of the universe. They would share knowledge, but they would also take knowledge. Because you need everybody sort of iron sharpeneth iron, they say. You need everybody rubbing off each other in order to build a good team that goes forward. Because everybody in your team comes with different strengths, and you need all of their strengths shared in some way to enhance one another in order for you to build a good team. So character would be key. Passion would be important. Teachability would be very important. I know that you guys, we've talked about stability, and that's not something that is readily acceptable to your generation at this point in time. But honestly, if I consider two people, and I know that one is likely to stay a bit longer in the company so that we can build forward, I will make the choice to choose the person that has the ability to stay longer. And most employers will. Why? Because my investment in building them up, I can reap. And that's where that sustainability comes in. And I guess sitting at the highest places, I can tell you, it always affects the decision. They might not tell you so. If I have an urgent, quick need, I can bring you in, even though I know you're not likely to stay. But it means that even from the beginning, I have no plan for you. I'm just going to use you to fill a gap. That's actually to your disadvantage. When I see the right opportunities, I would quickly say, no, she's not going to stay. I would give it to somebody else. So you actually lose when you communicate that you're not staying, when you look like you cannot be trusted to be part of building for the long term. I'm not talking about being trusted in terms of your integrity, but in terms of building together for the long term. So there is value in that sense. Any employer wants to know that, okay, I can rely on this person. I can plan around the person. I cannot plan around someone who's told me from day one, I'm only here for 2 years. They're going to keep you doing the same thing for 2 years, allow you to do some things, but when they have the real opportunity, they're going to give somebody else that's likely to stay longer. So it's just some of the realities that has to happen. I know Roti is smiling.
Awesome. It's awesome wisdom.
I'm telling you the conversations that goes on behind the scene. Half the time they don't bother to tell you why. You just don't realize why some things don't happen. But in reality, at the highest level, those are factors that matter.
I completely, and after, you said character, passion, teachability. They are the things we hire for. We absolutely have to. But I think one of the questions from the audience as well was, how do you choose between two candidates that are equally qualified? And I hear you loud and clear. Stability, sustainability, those are things that still matter today. And I think every one of us is taking that on board. Thank you.
The funny thing about that, girls actually get an advantage over the guys when it comes to that. So if you find a guy and a girl that the same level of skills and everything, it is generally assumed, except if it's been communicated otherwise, that the girl would likely stay longer. Because girls are perceived to be more stable and more loyal, generally. And so if you had a guy and the girl is, she's competing effectively and all of that, and you had to make a choice, the guy might lose, except if there's a boys' club at play.
We're trying to get rid of all the boys' clubs, so
I hope all the boys' club die off. I hope the boys' club dies and die off.
Thank you. Okay, so I think one of your quotes, thank you for sharing some of your wisdom through your quotes. I know you had a book there, and one of your quotes I had introduced you with before you joined was really, always remember that you would eventually get that unique career or business opportunity by invitation. And you said you would only move forward if you are a consistent performer. And it also means that your first seat at the table, you need to ask yourself, how do you handle it? How do you deliver excellence? And so I love the piece. I paraphrase it a little bit, but I love that quote. And it sort of ties into the question around who gave you your first seat at the table with regards to sponsorship, mentor, any sort of leaders that truly have inspired you? What impact do they have on your life? If you can share a little bit with us.
Okay, well, I think I'm a community child. And when you say that, it just basically means that different people had different pieces of contributing in order to make your journey a lot easier. But never forget that you drive the ship. Your call and your decisions at every stage, and the way you relate even to that community makes all the difference. Because nobody speaks up for you, stands up for you, except they've experienced you in a way that they think that they can trust you to represent them well, and for them not to make a mistake in stepping forward on your behalf. So that's really important. So never forget, so don't get caught in sponsorships and all of that. Be caught in your journey. And every opportunity you get, leave a legacy, that says, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how I do stuff. Let what you do speak for you, because at every door you need to walk through, there's someone there who will speak for you or speak against you, whether you like it or not. And they will speak for you or speak against you based on how they have experienced you. So there's a consciousness of your journey that you need to be committed to in that sense. My journey is essentially entrepreneurial, okay? And all my corporate work came from the legacy of my entrepreneurial journey. So that was me making a decision that I wanted to build a company and being willing to pay the price, but also showing up with each job so that each job that I showed up became the reference for the next job. Understanding that every action has consequences and being intentional about the actions at every door in order to ensure that it becomes a facilitator of the next door. And that's where the excellence, the commitment, the diligence, and all of that comes in terms, the integrity comes in terms of how you do your work. And then you will find that when you work like that, with a sense of respect for people, your biggest asset in life will always be people. And it's about how you handle them. People at the top, people in the middle, people at the bottom. Don't have a split approach to different categories of people. have a universal approach to relate to all human beings with respect and honor, and to treat every person you come in contact with like they matter, because they do. And one thing I have learned is people are very mobile. So don't go thinking, oh, this person is not important. You'll be shocked 2, 3, 5 years down the line where they show up in your journey. And if you haven't handled them well at a stage, you lose the right to benefit from your contact with them earlier when you meet them again. So your best investment is to have a global approach to dealing with people with respect, with honor, with equity, with justice, and with fairness. Those are my rules. And as you walk that journey, different kinds of people will stand up. They will fight for you. They will speak for you. They'll open doors for you. They would, amazing things will happen to you just because people know who you are and they can trust that you are. I'll give you an example. I met a young woman many years ago, just in the course of my work with my furniture company. And I went to this company because another person that I knew had also referred to me that, oh, they're starting up, as all the telcos were starting. And I went there to talk to them about furnishing this telco as they were starting. We eventually did work for them for quite a while and all of that. But she and I developed a relationship, a relationship that became close and long-standing till today. But somewhere in our relationship, along the line, I remember when she wanted to go to Harvard for her MBA. I'm very math strong. So I was her maths teacher for preparing for her GMAT, and then and she eventually did go to Harvard. A few years later, when I decided I wanted to go to ESA for my Global Executive MBA, she was my preparation mentor. Why? The way to take the exam, I'm sure you're all in that universe, had his own technique, which was not something I had done at school or anything I was in my 30s, but I hadn't done that, So she taught me how to prepare to take the GMAT exam and gave me all the practice videos and all of that to practice and all of that in order to prepare myself for my GMAT. And, I passed, and obviously I went to ESA a zillion years ago, and I serve on the board of ESA right now for the last 4 or 5 years, So we had relationships that benefited one another, even though it just came off an interaction at a point of business. And eventually, one of my major board work came from her father, who was in charge of that process in an organization. And because of my relationship with the daughter, we sat down at some point in the future of our relationship, and just said, oh, thank you for all your involvement in my daughter's life. I can see the impact and all of it, because I went for her graduation. I promised her, if you get in, I will be at your graduation when you finish in 2 years. And I was there. The whole family was there, and then we blended. And anyhow, at some point in the future, he wanted me to please work on certain board for them. And that led to a whole journey and all of that. So what is the lesson I'm giving you there? Manage your relationships. Have a healthy dose of respect for people. Treat every person around you like they matter, with justice, with fairness, with equity, with respect and honor. Show every love that you can. Be kind to people. Not because you have any agenda of receiving anything from them, but you never know who will be a blessing to you or to your children after you. So it's a seed that is worthy if you want to build long-term for your journey. And for all of you as well, sometimes the perfect job you're looking for, the person who will call you to say there's an opening here before anybody else knows is someone that you've built a good rapport with, who's had a good experience of you, who it's in the conversation where they're saying, we're looking for someone with this skill, this skill, this skill. There might be 20 of you, but it's about who gets there first. So just know that relationships are key. So it's not just about the mentor or this, they are part of your relationships. But it's the universe of relationships that is the most important thing. And what makes the universe important is not about the network or the cocktails as well. When you invest in relationships with people, they open up their relationships to you. So with one relationship, you can have access to 100. Why? Because when they choose they want to fight for you, they will reach out to their network for you. So it's about investing in relationship, but also being strategic in identifying the role of each relationship in your life and paying attention to it.
Wow, that's a extremely profound response. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay.
The universe of relationships, invest in relationships. Not over indexing on just a mentor or sponsor. Your personal board of directors is important. You need to keep sewing into those relationships, but it's about the community of it. And I think they're great stories that you shared with us. So thank you, Ma.
And please don't be a taker, be a giver. Because some people only want to take from relationships. The more you're someone that gives as a lifestyle, the day you need, you'll have an abundance of offer for what you need. So just make sure you're net positive in terms of what you give into relationships around you.
Thank you. So I wanted to do a quick time check with the organizer, just to make sure we continue to respect for all your times and how many questions we can take further.
It's fine. Keep going.
Okay.
I'm tracking,
right.
Don't worry.
Awesome. So we have budding entrepreneurs in the house, business leaders. A question came through on the chat in terms of just trying to understand a little bit about how a business leader respects the thin line that exists between collaboration and competition, especially within markets with larger, more established players. So some very specific entrepreneurial advice: collaboration, competition. How do you determine the thin line as a business leader?
Okay. I think one of the things that's really important where that is concerned is clarity of your goal. When you're going into a collaboration with an organization, you must be clear about what the collaboration is set out to achieve. What do you want to get from that relationship? And how do you make that relationship work for you? And what are the clear terms of the engagement? One of the things that happen is when you're a smaller player, you tend to give away too much because you have a sense of they're doing you a big favor. Nobody does you a favor just for nothing. If a big company is collaborating with you, there's value you're giving, trust me. So don't ever let anybody make you feel like, oh, without you, we can do this. If they can do it without you, they wouldn't do it with you, trust me. So you have to have a sense of your own value, have a sense of your self-worth. And even though you might be smaller, identify the value you're bringing to the table. And once you can identify the value you're bringing to the table, do your due diligence of identifying what they bring and what are the risks inherent in that collaboration for you. When you're able to make that assessment, determine the level of risk that you're willing to take. And you only determine the level of risk you're willing to take by first determining what is your benefit. Does your benefit outweigh the risk, in a sense? And how do you mitigate some of that risk? Risk in itself is not the problem. Do a SWOT analysis of the collaboration. Okay, the whole idea of finding all the weaknesses and the threats within it is for you to go ahead and have the mitigations. Once you can have the mitigations addressed, then you're protected in terms of the kind of contractual agreement that you arrive at. So don't be casual about it, especially with big organizations. Be clear and be contractual. Pay a lawyer to do the right thing for you. Don't try and save money when you shouldn't. Get a lawyer to look at the terms and put in clauses that will protect you, but that is still acceptable to the big player. And don't let them use their megaphone or their scale and size to make you commit to things that you know will put your business at risk. So that would be my simple advice.
Thank you so much. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Sorry, Ruthie. Thank you, Matt. We have a question in the chat, but I think it was directed to me. So I'm still handing back to you, but I wanted to just maybe bring that question in while we continue. Adrian Okukwe, I mean, she's in the leadership culture leadership space. She's a professor at Lagos Business School, and she's asked, speaking on leadership, our culture is one that tries to beg their way through things, and adhering to set protocols appears to be difficult and harsh. How do you navigate this? Even when the terms are clearly stated in advance, people seem to want to be forgiven repeatedly. What strategies for consequence management works in the Nigerian business environment?
Should ask me. That's a question I have to deal with often. You know, sometimes you have to be prepared not to be the most popular person, but you also don't want to be the enemy. So part of what you do is earn your credibility for consistency and fairness. So you can say no, but it's the process of how you say no. You know, you can fire someone, but you can do it kindly. You can punish someone, but you can be equitable and be just. And it's about the process. So really, one of the best ways is always to ensure that there's clarity around your decisions and the basis of your decisions, and to make everyone around you understand why you will not do something in a clear, processed way. And if you are consistent and it is clear that in every situation, this is what you will do, you will earn the respect of people over time. But it's really about, get out of here. Oh, I'm so sorry, but you do have to go. So let's, for those who are Yoruba speaking, Bele is sorry in Yoruba, but there's so sorry. There's sorry. There's sorry, Joe. Same words, same things, different attitude. And you will achieve different results. So it's really about that. Determine what's important to you. If it's the right thing to do, then stand by it, but be kind about it and communicate it in a way that people know that you're not doing it out of wickedness or meanness, but under the circumstance, and because you do not want to set precedences that will make it more difficult for you to do the things that you need to do, you have to be consistent at all times. So you need to, it's about building that credibility over time so people can trust your judgment that, no. If Aju says she's not going to change her mind, then you must have crossed the line beyond where you should. So it's about how you also are not perceived as an unreasonable person, because you take the time sometimes to explain why this has to be so. And there's also, there are moments where it doesn't cost you to be flexible. When you have those moments, take it, because it helps to establish that you're not an unreasonable person, but that you're firm. But in your firmness, you're fair and you're just. I hope that helps.
So much wisdom. I'm sure everyone is frantically taking notes. So thank you for that. I do have a personal question for you and please everyone, if you do want to ask a question while we have the time, please do a show of hands and please feel free to come off mute to ask the question. Where does your source of creativity, ideas come from? I know you are a spirit-filled woman, but I really want to we want to see how do you get inspired to come up with new ideas?
That's a tough question to answer, because I think that the constitution of each and every one of us is different. And I think our constitution is related to our calling. And one of the best things we can do is to be comfortable with our own calling and our own strengths and work with it. A friend of mine said to me once, your mind is volatile. I had a good laugh, because it was just the most interesting description of who I am, by someone who knows me very, very well. But I think we all have various ideas at different points in time. It's about our commitment to pursue them. Because you see, what you see of anybody's idea is what they have executed. So it's the courage to pursue our ideas without being afraid that can make you think one person is probably more creative than the other. We all have ideas. Ideas are a dime a dozen, I always say. But the difference is about, do you care enough about it to pursue it? And that's where the being spirit-filled comes in. Because for me, I always believe that everything I then choose to pursue is how I am led, based on my personal relationship with God and what I feel is an assignment or a must do at that point. And I'm willing to pursue it without fear that maybe it will work or not. Even if it doesn't work, I would have tried it out and there'll be something I learned from it. And sometimes I'll also learn that that's not something I'm meant to do, but it's something I thought, that I should do. And then maybe somebody else who is called to it will pick it up, and then I can support the person, because that's also. So I have a very adventurous nature in terms of my approach to life. I believe life is an adventure, and having the sense of liberty to explore cannot be a bad thing. It adds color to your life on a different day. And I also know myself. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I don't play to my weakness. It's a waste of time. I play to my strength. I outsource my weaknesses. I let other people take care of my weakness if it's their strength, and then I can benefit from it. So it's I think we must be humble enough to also know that, I can do this, but this person can do it better. I don't want to be 50% in something and try so hard and only achieve 70% of it, when somebody else without effort can be 110% of that. I'd rather be 90% in something and I put in a bit more effort and I'm better than 100 at it. So I'm humble enough to totally yield ground to other people in many parts of my life. So I don't know. I think that's what it is.
We need a sequel to your thoughts on quotes. Play to your strengths, outsource your weaknesses. Thank you. Thanks for that.
We do it random. I think it's only book one that is out. We have loads of quotes. We'll produce them along that.
Awesome. I look forward to them. Can we take a question from the live audience? I see Nike's hand up. Do you want to come off mute and just ask a question live?
Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, Mrs. Awosika. You said it's morning where you are. Yes, ma'am. I would like to ask. Morning. I'd like to ask a question based on your personal experiences.
Okay.
I guess you have been in situations where perhaps you were in a toxic organizational environment and you may have felt like you had a target on your back. Now, in such a situation, in such a situation, is it better to wait and weather the storm as long as you can, or should the person leave before, things degenerate? What do you think?
Well, you should never take your decision because of other people. You should make your decision because it's the right decision for you. So never let anybody put you in a corner where your decision is because of them, because then they control you. So what I would say to you is evaluate why you're there. Evaluate what benefit your being there is to you or not. Evaluate if the goals you set out to achieve are achievable within that organization, despite the challenges. Life is filled with all sorts of funny people, always. And sometimes you're going to have to fight your way through, to achieve what you need to achieve. And from one organization to the other, you will meet some kind of the same people waiting along the line. But it's really about you being able to determine, what is my goal here? Why did I come here in the first place? What am I trying to achieve here, and am I achieving it? Can I fight through this environment, or do I have to run? Especially the girls. You girls tend to run too often. Just run away from at the sight of trouble. The girls want to hop and go to the next place. And really, if you check many organizations, it's part of the reason why there are not enough women at the top, because they don't wait long enough to weather the storms to get to the top. And that's just the truth. And the battles you need to fight in some of those organizations are part of life. And you need to learn the skills to do them. I run this program, my 360 executive program, where I always have a small class of executive women C-suite. And it's part of what I do there, is to teach the girls how to survive every kind of organization and how to work their journey, and then to help them become a support group for one another so that they can work together to beat those situations and move forward. And it's been successful. We have 5 cohorts in Nigeria. I have 1 St. Lucia cohort, and we're about to do the 7th cohort in Ghana on the 5th of February, I think. And people apply and I choose who qualifies, because I try to curate the class based on those who apply. But one woman at a time, building the knowledge that is important for women to sustainably be able to stay across multiple organizations and get to the top without running away. So it's the toxicity of each organization is different. It might just be about 1 or 2 individuals. The organization is bigger than individuals, and sometimes you have to fight through, and those individuals will ultimately, they can't, the organization will outlive them. You just have to decide if that organization serves your purpose and you're willing to wait them out and pursue your goal. But if you think for any reason it no longer serves your purpose, not because you're running away, because of any individuals, and is a strategic decision for you to move to another place to be able to continue your journey, that's fine. But it's a difficult question on a general term. It's a question that is easier to answer when I'm dealing with individuals in my coaching sessions, because then I can take all the parameters that are involved and arrive at a conclusion with you whether to move or not. That's really how you deal with those kind of, but all I will say is whether you're male or you're female, and guys, I'm not partial, okay? It's just that the girls matters need some specific attention, and I try to pay. I'm a mother of only boys, so you can understand I want it to work for the boys too. What is key is that you need to be in control. Never hand over the key of your life and your career to anybody else. No one, not your husband, not your father, nobody should own the remote control of your life. It must permanently be yours to press and to decide what your next move is. And you make the decision for that move based on having a 360-degree view of the situation aligned with your goal. And when you bring those things together, you can always reach, counsel will be useful, coaching is useful, counsel, information, mentors, all that is useful, but don't ever forget that all of that only offers you information. All the information is to help you to have a full view of the situation. The real decision as to what you do is entirely yours to make. And because between what you feel in your heart, what you know that is unspoken, and what you see, only you can make that call. And sometimes you make hard calls. And you must be willing to. If it was easy, if all the calls in your life were easy calls, everybody would be everywhere. What separates you from the crowd is your ability to make the hard calls, because many people fall down off the ladder because of that. So the girls will get to the top, or the guys will get to the top. I've had to make some hard calls along. And you have to. And sometimes you go into a battle knowing you're about to fight a war.
Thank you so much, Ma. Sorry, I think somebody was interrupting. Please carry on.
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
I think I said enough.
Thank you, Ma.
Sorry, sorry, Nike. I just need to hand over to another person asking a question. Yemi, do you mind muting people who are not moderators and panelists? Thank you so much, Ma. So you'll be happy to know that I didn't do the flights. You were talking about fight or flight. So with my internet, I came out victorious in the end. It took me roaming around the building, but in the end, I came out victorious. So thank you so much for the very profound insight. It's been so amazing. There's so many questions coming up. And thank you, Ruti, for taking over. I'm so glad we had this approach, because this was not the plan, actually. So thank you. We do have 2 live questions. One from Kemi Adetu, and the second from Yemi Emmanuel. And then I think I see Akin Ojo on. And so if he wants to ask a question, feel free to just send me a direct message. So let's take Kemi first. Kindly introduce yourself. And also thank you, Ma, for mentioning your 360 coaching, because I was going to talk about that. We actually have some of our members who are in the club. So it's very amazing. We'll definitely look it up, and we'll be sharing the links later. So Kemi, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me, Ma. It's always such an honor and a privilege to hear you speak. I remember hearing you speak in person at a conference in Houston, Texas in 2019, and it was just phenomenal. So thank you so much. My name is Kemi. I wear 3 different hats. I'm an investment banker on the trading floor at JP Morgan in New York, where I'm currently sitting. I'm also a philanthropist. I work with female orphans in Nigeria and South Africa, just helping them gain scholarships, business funding. And I've been doing that for 3 years. And then more recently, launched a tech startup that's basically providing the infrastructure for brands across Africa, basically like a Net-a-Porter for Africa, to ship and gain economies of scale globally, and just access new markets. And so I love what you said when you said the depth and breadth of your experiences will enrich your leadership, but it requires openness of mind and understanding the principles are fundamental. And I think in my generation, something that's come up quite a lot is this concept of building a portfolio career. And I think it was defined as, a working style where you combine multiple streams of income, which often is a mix of full-time and part-time employment, freelancing, consulting. You hear people say, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I do all these different things. And so, I recently read an article in Harvard Business Review that basically was encouraging this. And it said, it reflects your professional identity and potential, and it allows you to combine your unique skills and experiences together. And so I wanted to hear your thoughts on, building a portfolio career. I know you mentioned stability in your career. And so some people have been able to, merge their different talents. So I know Roti as well had mentioned, doing work with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, as well as his current role as a global head of talent at JP Morgan. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that, especially as it's something that's becoming a lot more dominant as corporate professionals, managing side hustles and philanthropy and all of that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just smiling because and just the fact that there's a Harvard Business School article about something doesn't necessarily make it right, nor does it make it the best thing for you. So let's start from there, all right? It's really, one of the things I do in any of my sessions is a reflective exercise. And why I do that is I've realized that a lot of people are confused as to who they are, as to what they want to do, as to what their journey is about, as to where they're going, as to how they want to finish. Most people are so caught up with ticking the box that some other people have defined as the boxes that they must tick, that in the course of doing all of that, they lose themselves. So it's really important to spend some time with yourself. And my biggest mantra that I use for my programs is "to thyself be true." It's my coined version of a Shakespearean quote. And ultimately, what I would say to all of you is, ask yourself who you are. Ask yourself what you, Y-O-U, not the world, not the Harvard article, not anybody's, not your friend's idea, what you want for yourself, and what every 24 hours of your time, what you would prefer that it supports in the context of what you want to count in your life. And that ultimately will play into what your value system is, what you consider important, the lines you will not cross, the things you're willing to pay a price for, the ones you're willing to die for. And it helps you to have a better life and a more meaningful life. Trust me, no matter how much money you have in the bank, it guarantees you nothing. It's really about what you choose to do with your life. And I started business early. Don't forget, my first business I started like just before my 26th birthday. So I've been at this for 34 years. And what you've described is essentially what my 34 years of working experience and life has brought me. That's the place it's brought me to. I can have multiple streams of income from many parts of my life, but that didn't happen overnight, nor does every part of it matter to me. You choose out of the myriad of what is thrown at you, what is important for who you are and where you want to go. That self-definition is key in a world that tells you be everything else that everybody else is. And too many people end up unsatisfied, feel inadequate, feel out of place, think their peers are doing 10,000 things and they're only doing 2, and so something is wrong with them. Who cares what anybody else does? It's really about, what do you want? What makes you happy? What are the things that, you want to go to bed at night with a smile on your face, knowing that this matters to me. My husband is key, and therefore having a husband time in my diary is important. My children are important. So having commitments to things concerning my children for different stages of their life is important, and it trumps some of other things that other people are doing. Instead of going to a Lagos social party, I would rather be doing what I'm doing with you, because for me, investing in building the next generation, it's something that gives me joy. And therefore, I can run a live series program for 7-8 hours and spend the next 8 Sundays for 2 hours every Sunday, connected online to answer questions from the same group, just to help them break down the things I taught as principles into their lives. They can't afford to pay me for that. they can't afford it. If I put a price on my time or what I would get paid for sitting in a meeting in some places. So it cannot be about, so you need to make those calls. When you do, all those myriad of stuff will unknot itself. And you will know then in all of this, what do I want to do? You know, like I'm a pastor, I work in church, but I don't feel guilty if I'm not in church and I'm out doing something like this on a particular day. Why? Because it's part of what my life assignment is and it has value. And I'm not going to say just because I'm not in church every Sunday, something's wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with me. But you must have a sense of self-awareness and understanding of your own goal in order to sort through the myriad of the confusion that the world is presenting in many ways. I will say to you that multiple streams of income do not all have to be, if I invest in the stock market and I'm making money from it, that's a stream of income. If I have properties I've invested in and I have rental or appreciation on the property going on, that's another stream of income that is going on. If I write, I don't remember that I've ever made money from any of the books I've written. I know that they are blessing lives. That's a stream of income that is non-financial as far as I'm concerned. I just think they can't pay enough for all the time and the knowledge that you share in a book. You know, so what I would say to you is, you decide what it is that is important to you. Make those choices and apply your 24 hours of each day to serve and to support the journey you have chosen. And it will become easy. You will not be confused. You will not feel inadequate or be compelled by other people's decision. That's how people get burnt. So there's too much pressure for your generation. You know, I actually feel sorry for this generation and the pressure to meet up. We do a lot of things in our generation. I'm 59, not 70 or anything. So we did a lot. And getting up to here, we did a lot of stuff. We're still doing a lot of stuff. But we found a way to be a bit more grounded about it. And once you define what is important to you, you will realize that you can win on all fronts, but it's about how you plan the journey and what you put your markers on. I hope that helps you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. So we have one more question, Ma, but that identity journey, and I recognize that that is the crux of it, is the identity thing. And when that is solved for, you realize that then every part of your life, if having confusion in or anything, you know, that starts making sense. So thank you for just reiterating that. So I'm going to hand over to Yemi now, also a member of Niger, to ask questions. So please.
Thank you very much, Aramide. And good afternoon, Mrs. Awosika. Thank you so much for
yourself.
Thank you so much for the valuable time that you have given to us today. And I'll just echo what Kemi said. Yes.
He's on already. I can hear him.
Thank you, Ma. And I just wanted to echo what Kemi said earlier on about it being a privilege for you spending time with us. So thank you so much. I run an investment firm, I beg your pardon, based here in the UK, well, with operations in Lagos and in India. And what we're trying to do is bring some of the culture, ethic, and values that we have in the UK to Lagos, Nigeria. Values such as attendance, timekeeping, what you wear, how you speak to clients, the list goes on and on. What we've been told in Lagos is that it doesn't work, i.e. you can't bring culture and value that works in the UK to Lagos and expect it to work. I have a different approach on that. In other words, I feel you can. But I just wanted to know if you could give us some kind of advice on this. Is it worth bringing a culture that works in a specific locale into a country like Nigeria and still expect it to work?
Okay, well, I don't think it's even about Nigeria. I think it's simply about what the context of the environment where you're trying to sort of impose the practices and context of another. And there isn't something wrong with it in itself. It's about the particular organization and their culture and the choices that they make. Because I realize that if it becomes the defined context for a particular organization, it will work. But that's about leadership. That's about even those who want you to establish that themselves, living by it, in a way that you can convince. How did the GTs of this world emerge? When they started, it was a culture shift from the way the traditional banks of then were, and them setting out to create a totally different culture and environment. From calling their MD and their DMD then by their first name, when it was totally anti-cultural in the context of the environment, and trying to do things with a certain different set of service values. Well, it's worked for them over the long term, and they didn't go and bring the people that work there from space. They were still Nigerians. And they just set the parameters, and the environment was defined along those parameters. In the days of Buhari and Idi Agbon, when there was a war on indiscipline, I don't know if any of you were there then, but probably need to ask for your birth certificate to remember that. But there was a time when we had the military ruler, Buhari and Idi Agbon, and there was a war. Yes, why? Somebody just said, by war on indiscipline. And if you pass through like Yaba, you would see that at bus stops, instead of people sort of crowding to get on buses and everything, they had to queue, because that was part of the why mantra. Do you know, if you drive past Yaba today, they still queue in those particular places. So what that tells you is anybody is teachable. It's about the context that the leadership defines. If you raise a child around a table and say to him, you can eat with your 10 fingers anyhow you like, that's how he'll grow up, thinking it's the right way to do it. But if every time the child decides, you say, no, and you smack his hand and say, you do not do that. This is your cutlery. You do this. It might take a while, but you are reprogramming the child to behave in a certain way. So yes, there isn't anything you want, except if it is totally out of whack with the value system of the environment in some sense. Because, I also work with missionaries, and I know that if something isn't seen, don't try and fix it. So you have to look at the change you want to bring in the context of that. Is it just about making them more British? Or is it about enhancing the way they do things without changing the substance of who they are? So those are the things you're going to have to consider. So whatever your UK context is, it would have to be localized in some sense. It's a global concept, but localized, as I call it, for the environment, so that you can achieve the goals. But leadership is key. It's always about the people at the top. If they have a buy-in and they make it the law of the nation, it becomes law. If it's not, then nothing happens. Okay? So your big job is to sell it to the people who need to be the example in order to make it happen.
Well, thank you very much, Ma. I really appreciate your counsel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma.
We done?
I'm hoping you can hear me.
I can.
Okay.
We can hear you, Aramide.
So I just want to say thank you. You've shared so much wisdom. Yeah, it's been unreal. We didn't know what to expect. We knew that we would glean from your wisdom, but we didn't know if it would be this almost life transforming. So I want to say a very big thank you for making time to engage with us. There have been so many questions. We just don't have the time. But of course, we like how you said, after your events, you find time to respond to people. So I'm sure people will get in touch, especially through this 360 coaching that you have. So before we wrap up, I want to just mention a few things. And again, thank you, Mrs. Awosika, for your time. She does have books available that she's authored. She referenced them, The Girl Entrepreneurs 1 and 2, available at the Chair Center showroom, Lekki and Laterna bookstore. Watch out for main titles: Girls in the Board, The Girl Entrepreneur 3, Business His Way.
Those are already out.
Those are coming. Also, watch out for the Executive Masterclass Coaching. I'm sure you've seen that on social media. I'm definitely trying to be part of that. So Ghana in February, Dubai. Okay.
Dubai is a conference, so
okay.
Dubai is a conference.
Sorry if it's slightly delayed. I just heard from you now. So yeah, the masterclass coaching Ghana in February, Dubai in March, late. Okay, conference.
Okay, I think I've lost. I think Roti would have to step in now.
Like we've lost Aramide.
Yeah, yes, I think we've lost Aramide.
Yeah, it looks like we've lost Aramide.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess for the organizers, anything else? I just want to express my gratitude just for gleaning on this wisdom. I'm sure everybody expresses the same as well. Thank you very much, Awosika, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Hello.
And Aramide? Yes, I think we've lost you. So any other closing comments from the organizers? Otherwise, I think that it's been a great session. I'm sure we would have a number of these roundtables on a regular basis. So look out to your community pages, look out to your notes. We will definitely have a number of great speakers come over the next couple of months as well. So stay tuned. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I hope as many of you as can get to the Dubai conference can be a part of it. I think if you go to the website, the International Women Leadership, TIWLC.com is the website for the conference. It promises to be fun. Okay. Bye.
Look forward to it.
Gotta go.
Bye-bye.
Well, it's for girls only. Sorry, Roti.
Please have us.
The live series in Ghana is both male and female.
Okay.
But the Dubai conference is an international women's leadership conference for women of African descent and from the diaspora. Okay, so that's for girls only. That's why it's in March, International Women's Month. Okay.
Correct.
All right. You can send your wife.
Thank you very much. I will send my wife, Ruki.
Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you, bro. Okay.
Thanks so much, everyone. Sorry for the mishaps. Bye. Thank you, Ritzy.
No worries. Bye.
Thank you.